Well, it's been a few months actually, I think, since I've put a video together, and so I thought I'd give a brief update of why that is, and then what's going on with everyone. Isn't that grass looking great? I think we've had more rain in August than we did in June. It's looking like third cutting hay is going to actually be better than second cutting and equal to first cutting even, perhaps. We've been getting steady rain every week or so for the last 3 or 4 weeks. So first, the reason I haven't been making videos is pretty simple. I managed to first sort of destroy my phone, and then I managed to then completely destroy my phone. So it kind of took me out of commission. I didn't feel like taking Anne's phone all the time to make a couple of YouTube videos, but we're back on it. I finally went hat in hand to work and told them that I broke the phone they gave me, and they sent me another one. So here we are. So you'll notice this is just the cattle, the 3 cattle. So a couple things have happened. One is Bob, the guard dog, has developed a pretty antagonistic relationship with this guy. And it got to be when I was moving the sheep and the cattle together that I'd find the heifer calf with the horns and this guy out of the fence every morning. And I kind of did a couple of experiments to try to figure out what was going on, and finally I decided, well, let me just chain Bob up overnight. And all of a sudden the cows were staying in, and so then I let them off, and next day the cows were out. So I started doing kind of a leader follower grazing, putting my sheep out ahead of the cattle and letting the cattle lag behind and clean up what the sheep don't, and that seemed to solve the issue. But so that's part of it. The other part is right now all the sheep, and you'll see this here in a minute, all the sheep are over at Doug's farm right now. We're doing like a really hard cleanup grazing. I think I'll be back over there one more time, but we have a little over 3 weeks of grazing there anyway, so I'm grazing them very tight and really letting the rest of my farm, this field and the fields over there, really come back tall and strong for the fall. And so that I'm going to then come back here and skim graze them, over the course of 2 or 3 weeks, just big, wide, fast movements. And then we'll go in and graze it tight for the fall, and then, put them to bed for the winter. You can see I've started staging hay bales into the fog. We're going to be taking a significantly larger number of animals through the winter. I got a couple of more steers potentially coming in this fall that are shorthorns. I've really enjoyed those, and he seems to be fleshing out really nice. They're a little leggy for my taste. I really like look how short and stocky those guys are. But he's taken to a grass-only diet and staying filled out, and he's growing quickly, so I can't complain about him too much. And then but we're going to be taking a little over 75 ewes through the winter too. And that's not insignificant. That's over double what I took through last year. So we have some hay set aside for them. And the reason I'm going to winter them here is the farm over here, they have a low meadow here, but they don't graze anything, so it just goes to nothing. And it's just absolutely full of thistles. And so what's happened is incrementally these thistles have marched. You can see a couple of them right here too. They've incrementally marched into this pasture that I use. And so I'm just going to, nutrient bomb this field so that next year the grass can easily outcompete these thistles and choke them out. And that's kind of the methodology I'm going to employ to manage them without chemicals. We'll see if it works or not, but yeah. So the sheep over at Doug's, I had the pigs in the forest, and they ended up being the most wild sons of guns that you've ever seen. So you can see right now they're in a hard cattle paneled, or hog paneled, I suppose, little area under it with some shade, some water, and they're really destroying that. But they can't get out. I got kind of sick of chasing them, after I chased them for about every day for a week, I had enough. So I think I've talked to one of our neighbors, and he's got some, I think they're called red wattle pigs, and I've been over there, and they're very docile and quieter, and not these wild commercial pigs. And so next year, I think we're going to go with something like that. So, all right, last one is the Rams. I'm going to go show you those. All right, here are the boys. So, a couple quick updates. So, I have a few of these are home Rams that we're keeping. A few of them are bought-in ones, and that little guy, I thought he was going to be something with his butt facing me, not the speckled nose one, this guy right here. He's going to get cut here and drop back into the flock for meat. So we're going to go into the winter with 4 Rams this year. So I bought this fella, really nice looking. If you guys have ever heard of Rory Groves, he wrote a book called Durable Trades, and really good book. And so he actually lives about 15 minutes away from me. Him and his family, lovely people, and they had a really nice registered brown Katahdin ram, and I tried to buy him, and they had sold him like the morning before I reached out, which is about how it goes. But this is the son of, you're gonna get a shock, dude. This is the son of that ram, and I wanted a little more color in the flock for, maybe next year. So hopefully he'll breed some good ones. He was born in April, so I'm going to bring up their birth dates so I can just talk about like why breeding selection is so important, because he's a nice size, right? Really nice size. But and then you see this guy here. I'm going to try to get him right here with the purple tag. So he's from George Heller's farm. I traded him a ram for a customer up there that took a bunch of his ewes, and they needed a non-related ram, so I gave him one of our rams. And he's a nice looking guy, but he was born in February even. And then this speckled nose one, you see how thickly muscled he is, and you see this guy's amazing. So this guy was February, this guy was April, and then these 3 were all born in May during my lambing season. And so he's not as good, right? But look they already got a sleek coat because of the testosterone running through him. Look, he's already getting a heavy nose and furrowed eyebrows and a deep chest. So he's a nice looking one too. They're about the same size. But if you look, the February George Heller ram and this boy who's in May are like, first of all, they're best pals. Those 2 are always together. And then they're the same size, all on grass. So I decided I was going to select and be choosy and do the whole works. But I cannot, I almost want to, I got to have more rams, but I hope he gets a lot of his genetics through my herd, because look at the size of him. He was born, that's a, well, I guess what would he be? Mid-May to mid-August. That's a 4-month-old ram. Boy, is he a beast. So he's got to go, he gets to go all the way to December before he gets the ladies. And, oh, did you get shocked? So, they're doing really well, but this little guy here, I thought he was going to be something, and he didn't turn out to be anything. So I'm going to cut his red tag off, put a white tag back in, and he's going to get his nuts cut and back out to the flock. And these 4 boys will be happier for it. But I really, really am pleased with some of the rams that I selected this year. Just their vitality and their muscling and their vigor. And they obviously have testosterone. I mean, look at the size of these 2 in the back. Like the brown one and the speckled nose one are nice. But this boy right here, he's like head and shoulders above everyone else. It's amazing. And he knows it too. He knows he's the boss. And this little guy in the middle is like their kid brother who isn't quite ready to join the baseball team. But yeah, they're getting plenty of grass, you can see. I'm not moving these guys as frequently. Honestly, I have so many irons in the fire. I'm moving these guys on a weekly basis and clipping behind them so that this grass will reboot. But they have plenty of grass here. And then we have all this up here. And then we can go over there and then do the whole circle again. So they're doing well. So that's the ram update. Yeah, so here's the main sheep flock. It's getting pretty big. There's some all the way out there. We did a little bit of an interesting setup where I cut the corner back to where they've already been so they could have access to more shade, because it's about 100 degrees right now with the heat index, which is a little much in my opinion. But you can see they're pretty content. This is that field that we plowed up, and then look at him, he's climbing in. This is a field at Doug's that we plowed up and then we planted. And you know, I think Doug told me he doesn't think it ever been worked or planted or turned or anything in the 50 years he was milking. So of course we kicked up a lot of weeds, and so we're grazing it. And there's a lot of grass in here, especially out there. There's a lot of grass, and then after they come through this portion, I'll come behind and clip it, kind of like how this looks. And the idea is to mulch the weeds down and let the grass use the remainder of August and September to come forward and come ahead, establish deeper roots, so that next year this should improve dramatically. It's kind of what I had to do on my farm when I originally got there. But we ended up buying a bit of a flock dispersal from a fella I've known for a good while. He's actually the guy I bought some of my original sheep, like this old girl right here. And so he's just been kind of gotten a little too busy to maintain his bigger flock, so he cut down to just a few select animals for his family. And then I bought up the remainder of his first year ewes and his ewe lambs. So we're going to be taking quite a few ewes into the winter for breeding. You can tell by the way they're panting. It's very, very hot, and so shade is at a premium. So you can see, instead of coming straight this way where the water tank is, Henry and I looped it out wider so they could take advantage of this larger amount of shade here on the western side of the field. But you know, they're all doing well. It's been fascinating to watch what they eat and don't eat. Like, they don't eat this kind of common ragweed. They don't like that. But the giant ragweed, they'll strip down to nothing. I mean, look at this. I mean, it's just a stalk. There's another, just a stalk. I mean, everything they could reach. Here, I kicked some of these over earlier, and look, they got them all the way up the thing. So we'll bend these down for him. Henry, why don't you bend a couple down? Yeah. And so we have more lambs out, or more ewes out here yet that are kind of grazing in the better part of the grass. And you know, fair amount of thistles came up. That's not great, but we'll clip them down, and there's grass underneath it, and it'll come forward. So that's kind of where we are. So we have today, tomorrow, and Monday for grazing this way, and then we head all the way back that way, and we kind of do to the tree from the corral by the green shed, and then there's another probably 7 or 8 acres that way. So we're going to be over at Doug's for another 3 weeks or so. And oh, the dogs are following Henry around. And then we're going to go back to the home farm. So we're giving the home farm a nice long rest. But look at some of these. This is my daughter's lamb right here. Look at him. That's his mother. Look at the size. He was born in late May. Some of them are really coming forward and others aren't, and I'm taking note of the ewes that are giving me weaker lambs, you know, because we're gonna be able to start being a little more selective with who we keep and really build just really proper genetics as we carry forward. So it is hot out here. I think we're gonna give them water and go home and have some dinner.